the best time to take a photo of the sunset while standing on the beach?
Their food is amazing.
I would say we probably do about 1,800 a year.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
There would have been a lawsuit for fraudulent conveyance, and our folks would have probably lost the property.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting choked up,
I typically only cry over sports movies or dog movies.
Okay.
And so if you have like Air Bud with the dog playing sports, that's I'm a puddle.
You just got under contract to buy or sell property in South Carolina. Your real estate agent indicates this is where an attorney enters the stage. While it may feel they are behind a curtain, they most definitely have a leading role in your successful closing. In this episode of Coasting, I sit down with Thomas Stanley, owner of Dunes Law Firm and a seasoned real estate closing attorney. Thomas walks us through what actually happens behind the scenes to make your transaction official and smooth. This episode is packed with need-to-know info and eye-opening insights about how your coastal dream becomes, well, recorded. So put the top down and get the sunglasses on. It's time. We're coasting. Hello and welcome back to Coasting, the podcast about helping you find your people, place, and pace as you make the Carolina Coast your new home. I'm your host, Celia Klein, resident of Myrtle Beach and realtor with Grand Dunes Properties. Aunt B is here, and we are pretty psyched about kicking off the new year.
We are.
Yeah. So, okay, a lot of people do a word of the year. Okay, have you ever done this before? Mm-hmm. So, all right, I'm going to go first. I've decided that my word for 2026 is connection. And do you remember when you were a kid, you used to play that card game where you put all the cards face down and then you'd flip one? Mm-hmm. And then you try to remember where the other one, So that's kind of how I feel, I want to try and do is just make lots of connection. Now, for me, connection, usually, I love me some in-person connection, okay? I'm old school. I like it that way. That's why we have an audience for our podcast. But, heck, if you want to communicate by text or you want me to do one of those planes with the banner down the beach to send you a message to connect, by gosh, I will do it in 2026. But what about you? What about you, Aunt B?
So my word of the year is gratitude.
Oh, very good.
I think sometimes we move so quickly. We don't stop to be grateful for all the things that we've got, all the connections that we have, the fact that I live in Myrtle Beach, such a beautiful place here, and that I'm able to enjoy my life here at the beach. So gratitude, I really want to take time every morning and realize what I'm grateful for.
So when I am behind a really slow car in the left lane, I'm going to call you to remind me about the importance of gratitude. Will you do that for me this year?
Definitely.
Okay, good. Because, man, that's not easy for me, okay? All right, you know what? Here we are in January, and sometimes January can be a tough month. It's colder. The sun still isn't out long enough for our liking, but there are some good things about January. And the first one is businesses love on the locals in the month of January. Mm-hmm. Have you ever enjoyed, something because you live here that maybe people need to know about?
A lot of the local places, including the local shows and theaters, will give local discounts.
Oh, right.
Some of the restaurants will give local discounts on certain nights. So you have to check when you're going out or moving around and see what you can find out.
Mm-hmm. Usually if I just get in the habit of, just trying to remind myself when I'm checking out somewhere or whatever, do you give a locals discount? I always have to try and remember that because
it never hurts to ask.
Exactly. And, this is the time of year the snowbirds come in, they, if you have a investment property here, it's good news because those snowbirds will come in January and they will stay until the end of March. So that is nice. But at the same time, it's definitely not a crowded month for our area. However, I think that's changing because with more people making the area their primary residence as opposed to second home, etc., it just feels like the difference, at least when I first moved here 8 years ago, it's definitely not as drastic as it used to be. Would you agree?
I agree. And a lot of people in the hospitality business around here You ask them, is it off season? We don't have an off season anymore.
I agree. I mean, it really, it's so funny you say that. When I first moved here, I moved from Charlotte, and Charlotte, obviously, city of tons of, the restaurants, etc. But it was very common, work would be done at say 5:00. You might go walk the dog, whatever. And you're not thinking about going out to eat till 7. And so when I moved here and everything was closing at 8, I went, oh my gosh. But that is not the case anymore here. You definitely have more choices and more options.
Definitely.
Here's another secret tip for January. January is actually the best time to take a photo of the sunset while standing on the beach. And you're going, huh? It has everything to do with positioning of where the sun is, because typically that sun is going to set behind those high-rise condos. And so you're not going to get that pretty sight. But if you'll bundle up and go out there in January, it is spectacular seeing that sun setting on the water. It is just beautiful. So yeah, we've done it before. That's right. That my sunset celebration. So I encourage you, bundle up, get the camera, and get ready to see something very beautiful. You know what else it's a good month for? Going out to eat, because
Definitely.
it's definitely not as crowded, and so some of those places that might be your faves, you could actually check those out a little more frequently and not have a wait, which is the perfect segue into our next segment of Yummy to the Tummy, brought to you by Aunt B. So take it away. What are we going to learn about today?
Okay. So we talked a lot about retirees. And retirees like to go out for breakfast because they can. And there are a lot of restaurants in the Myrtle Beach area, thousands. But there are also a lot of like breakfast and lunch restaurants.
True, yes.
Some of them that are only open from either 6 or 7 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And you can get some fantastic breakfast.
Yes, you can.
So there are a couple of big ones that many of our visitors frequent, and those are kind of hard to get into. But I'm going to focus on one of my faves.
All right, bring it on.
It's Drift.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And Drift is on Route 17 bypass, not to be confused with Route 17 business, right in the Grand Dunes area, right near your real estate office.
Yep,
as a matter
on
of fact.
Cipriana. That's right.
And I went there a few weeks ago with a group of ladies. We were doing a little celebration, and everybody had such a fantastic meal. Their food is amazing. You can get everything from your shrimp and grits, chicken and waffles.
Oh, my.
Me, I'm an Eggs Benedict aficionado.
Oh.
But it's all about the muffin to egg ratio.
Okay. I love the science behind this.
You ever go order?
We should have charts. We should have.
You ever go order an Eggs Benedict and you've got this 3.5-inch in diameter muffin, and then this little tiny poached egg in the middle.
What's the point?
And it just doesn't.
Just should have had a biscuit.
Drift. They have so many different Benedicts.
Like what?
They have one with chorizo on it. They have one with spinach on it. They have your typical ham or Canadian bacon, as some of us say. And that's I'm a traditional girl. I like my Canadian bacon or ham and a little bit of hollandaise. I always get it on a side. But
this is it. Since you're an aficionado, we definitely need to know that you get it on the side. That's very important.
Well, if you get that hollandaise sauce, again, you can't control who's making it, right?
Right.
They might just smear it all over the thing, and then you can't even taste the rest of the Eggs Benedict. This way I can control how much hollandaise I want on my Eggs Benedict.
Precisely. And these are, I've been to Drift before, and the presentation, I mean, how it's just, you bring out your camera. It's just beautiful. And obviously, this is what everybody else thinks too, because the place is always packed. Wouldn't you agree?
It is. It's always packed. They have some unusual items, which I also like.
Oh,
They have
tell us.
octopus.
Oh my gosh.
I know you know, it sounds kind of yucky, but it's really not. It's very good. And the way it looks beautiful, the way they present it, it tastes delicious. They have truffle fries, which I also love to indulge in every now and then.
So truffle fries, are you actually having those for breakfast, Aunt Bee?
Sometimes.
You're just living the good life, aren't you?
Hey, I'm retired.
So is this a place, you know, like I said, it seems like it's packed all the time. So January might be a really good time to go.
Right.
Now, do they take reservations? Do they, you know,
that's my only issue is they don't take reservations.
Oh.
I don't think they have to because they get enough of a crowd. But we went with a group of 10. And it would have been really nice for them to have taken a reservation for a group of 10 on a Saturday.
I think that's a very good suggestion. I mean, we're just unfortunately in a culture and society now, we just don't like to wait.
Right.
You know? So if we can, you know, even if it's the one where you, you know, put your name in, you know, before you get there type of thing.
They have a, you can check the wait list.
Oh, okay.
So I guess they must hook their wait list up to their website so you can see how many people are ahead of you, which is helpful.
Mm-hmm. It's better than nothing, right?
Okay. And they have outside seating and indoor seating, and it's really nice right there in the Grand Dunes area.
It is very pretty there. Don't they have like almost like a outside courtyard-ish area too?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Have you sat out there before?
Yes. Yes.
And does it have a roof or
It does.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's covered. Mm-hmm. So in case it is drizzly or which it usually isn't, but
yeah, of course, it never rains here.
It never rains.
Even though the people who might be looking at this are looking out, you know, the T porch here at the Myrtle Beach Art Museum and seeing it is definitely a winter day. So, but you know, we find our ways to still like going inside to drift and enjoying a nice breakfast, right? Well, I thank you for bringing us another Yummy to the Tummy segment. These are always so good. I think pretty much everybody who watched the episode about Maggie D's, they just are, you know, calling and writing, going, "Oh my gosh, thanks for that!" You know,
John's like selling out of bread.
I mean, it's great. It's awesome. So thank you very, very much. All right, it is time for the Coasting Convertible to pick up a passenger. Today we'll be doing our first episode focusing on real estate, more importantly, a process, how to close on the purchase of a property. And we're so fortunate Thomas Stanley, South Carolina attorney and founder of Dunes Law Firm, has agreed to come along for a ride. He'll join us when we come back after this quick break.
The Myrtle Beach Art Museum is a perfect place to warm up on a chilly day. Come visit the museum galleries holding 3 separate exhibitions. Ashland Pope, History of Moving Forward. Alex Powers, A Peace of Mind will be on display through February 15th. And Joanne Morgan, The Morning After, will be on view from January 10th through April 5th. Call 843-238-2510 with any questions or visit www.myrtlebeachartmuseum.org for more information.
Welcome back. For the second episode in a row, we have a guest who actually grew up in the area, the town of Loris, raised his family here at the beach, has been practicing law since 1998. His firm, Dunes Law Firm, started in 2010 and now has 2 locations, one in Myrtle Beach and the second one right on Main Street in downtown Conway. While the firm offers, you know, many services, for today's episode, we're going to focus on representing the buyer at closing. We have much to discuss, so let's get coasting, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Thomas Stanley.
Thanks, Celia. Thanks for having me.
We're so thrilled you're here. Now, we're going to just tell you that right off the bat, every single guest we have on the podcast, the first question is, have you seen an alligator?
In Myrtle Beach, no.
Okay, good. Phew.
Other parts of the county, mainly on the waterways.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right.
So I was born and raised in Loris, and my first 20 years, I saw 1 alligator.
Good answer.
But yeah, that was a. We think somebody put him there as a joke. But on the waterways down on the Waccamaw, the Intracoastal South, kind of towards Pawleys Island, you'll see a few out there.
Yeah.
So there's more than a few.
Would it stop you from moving here?
No.
Okay.
In fact, it didn't stop us from taking our kids on the waterway and tubing.
Okay.
We swam in the waterway. We've, knock on wood, never had an issue. So my kids were kind of river rats. They grew up on it. And the alligators just didn't want any part of us.
Yeah.
So unless you had a like small puppy, I think that might be more of their bite size kind of appetite. But I think humans they don't seem to be too interested in
What
us.
do they call those candy now? Snickers, the fun size?
Yeah,
so
fun
you're talking
size.
about the fun size dogs? Okay,
Yes.
that's kind of,
Yeah,
we're going to keep them away. We're going to
even
keep
when
them
my kids
away.
were fun size, they were a little too big fun size, I think.
Exactly.
So anyway,
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that even a local says, don't worry about them.
Nope.
Come on to the coast. So we're going to just dive right into this because there's so many different avenues we could take talking about, closings. And with you and I being chit chatters, this could be like a 2 hour. So we're going to do our best to, to stay in the lane. Right. But, what happens between, and maybe we'll call this the top 5 things. What happens between the contract and the closing table that buyers may not even realize is happening?
I would say the first thing is, at least in South Carolina, I would assume most places, is they just don't realize how much goes into it. We have a very simple task: try to get the numbers off the contract, the deal that y'all have gotten the parties to agree to, and turn that into a settlement statement folks can sign at closing. But in between contract and closing, there's a half dozen, 10 parties that we're working with integrally. So we're trying to coordinate, trying to quarterback, contacting pest inspection companies, HOAs, listing agents, selling agents, sellers, attorneys, lenders, just trying to gather a bunch of information, not to mention trying to get a title search done on the property and coordinate with the abstractors.
And so all of that is, unique for every single closing transaction. So ballpark, in the course of a year, how many closings are you doing for, we'll just go with residential property?
I would say we probably do about 1,800 a year.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
So yes, 2 offices kind of help bump that number up. And Conway is just an absolute growth, going through a growth spurt right now. So
yes, it is.
It's been a little busier than we thought. We opened that office about 3 years ago, and it's been a great market. There's just so many folks moving to the area now, looking inland, not just on the beach.
Right. And how there's all those different moving companies that do their, research of where did their moving trucks go to, leave from, etc. And the company Moving Buddha said that the number one place that people are moving to, Conway, South Carolina.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate
Calabash, I think, is like number 4. So we've got 2 of them in our market.
I'm surprised and not surprised.
He's
at the same
right,
time.
right.
Yes.
I know. So a lot of times I'm helping people in the world of new construction, and the builder is going to say, hey, you can use our lender. And can you maybe explain some pluses or minuses to using that lender, which would then be also the sellers, which in this case is the builder, the seller's, attorney as well?
Yeah, I don't know about all the aspects of, I haven't bought a new construction recently, so I don't know all the benefits. I would say the biggest thing I hear is the credits the builder may provide. So if you use somebody on their list or their preferred closing attorney, same with lenders, there may be some money involved. And that normally it seems to be kind of a big point for folks. If I can get $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 at closing, then why wouldn't I? And I have my attorney and all the title search paid for. The downside, in my opinion, is what we do is we work with residential resales. We are used to working with many parties, not having a cookie cutter template for the closing, like you said. Each one's unique. We probably have we have a title plan of over 1,200 neighborhoods in Horry County.
Wow.
That we have done. So we work with a lot of properties, we work with a lot of people, and I just feel like we kind of are built that way for customer service, just to try to communicate. So we can provide that. We can't provide the credits. So sometimes it's a matter of finding somebody you trust. And I know real estate agents have relationships and find folks that they really like. And so you kind of, to me, it's not one or the other, but it kind of, those seem to be the 2 biggest points.
Yeah.
Do I go with somebody I trust that I feel like represents me, not the seller developer as well? And in most cases, it's not a big deal if they do, because you have a signed contract. The terms have been agreed to for the most part. But it's sometimes nice to know you've got somebody solely looking out for you versus the credits that the builder provides.
Right. When you first start that relationship with the buyer client, one of the things that your firm sends out is a type of questionnaire. And this is just one of those terminology things that I find people ask about frequently when they get that questionnaire. And it's talking about the different options that they, as the owners of the new property, have with rights of survivorship. Can you do a little glossary for us and tell us what that means?
I'll try.
Okay.
Basically, in South Carolina, if you're talking about a couple, two owners, not necessarily husband and wife, but partners, just business partners or otherwise. If you have two owners or more, the two main ways of taking title in South Carolina are tenants in common, which is 50-50 ownership.
Okay.
But each one of us owns our own property. 50% of the whole. When I die, I can leave it to whoever I want to. Versus right of survivorship, which, as you know, so if one of us passes away, the other owner owns 100% automatically. There are a couple variations of right of survivorship, but those are the two main ones we see. And for most folks, couples especially, moms with adult children, older parents with a child, we see a lot of right of survivorship. That way you can avoid probate.
Right.
It's just kind of it's a tough time anyway, obviously, when somebody passes away trying to take care of affairs. It's just one that you don't have to worry about. So right of survivorship is far and away the most popular.
Okay. Now, when you're going through the entire process, so that's the one I hear questions about. How about on your end? Is there anything that you always see, there's a kind of a pattern, if you will, of maybe a document that they either forget to read and it's a really important one, or maybe that they just frequently, it's just one that gets misunderstood?
Maybe the HOA documents. This area has a lot of homeowner associations, condos and single family home neighborhoods. And I feel like we don't really know how many people are getting information on HOAs, what their agents tell them, what they find out on their own. Are the HOAs cooperative before closing? They seem to be more cooperative once you've bought property. So it seems like to me there's some questions about, well, how does this HOA operate? What are my fees? How do they collect the dues? How do I pay the dues? Are there meetings? How do I get on the board? And we, as settlement agents, are checking the title and make sure the numbers are right. We get questions about HOAs, but that's not really kind of within the specter of what we do. Happy to talk to folks, happy to answer questions. In fact, as part of our title search, you may have seen this, but we send out HOA documents. Anything that we find that's been recorded at the courthouse, which HOAs are supposed to do, we send out those documents to our clients and go, hey, here's what we think is going on, rules and regulations, in case you haven't heard already. And we love it when people say, yeah, we've heard.
Right.
But we find a fair amount where people go, yeah, I didn't know.
Well, I'm so glad you are bringing this up, Thomas, because, as I would call it, our coasting counsel tip for this episode would be, on the buyer side, you should be getting a copy of those HOA documents before you even make an offer, because there could be something in there that is very specific. What if you have a commercial vehicle that you want to park in your driveway, and then all of a sudden, surprise, they won't let you do overnight park, or there's just so many intricate things that, as a buyer side, you should absolutely know that before you even put the offer. And if you're on the seller side, before you even list, you actually have the easiest access to those HOA documents than anyone in the whole equation, because those HOA management companies have become more and more difficult in sharing those freely, and emphasis on the word free, because if you, say, for example, as an agent are trying to get it, they won't give it to us unless maybe we pay. So it's a lot of times so helpful that before you even list, go on that management website for your specific community, and you can, download those. And if you need help learning how to download, we can certainly do that for you as well. So it's just one of those, it's so helpful to have that information.
And the folks at my office, we have foreclosures in 2 offices, and they may not appreciate this comment. But by virtue of the fact we've got 1,200 neighborhoods, over 1,200, I don't know what it is now, but we've collected more than a few documents, restrictions, the master deeds for condos, the rules and regulations, not always current because I may not have searched that property in the past couple of years or that neighborhood. But we've got a pretty big database of documents.
It's a great resource.
And as you know, you either have to buy it from the HOA or buy it from the Horry County Courthouse. Well, we've bought them from the courthouse over the years. So if you've got a client that's working with us or plans to work with us, they call and say, hey, Celia's my agent. I need the documents, or usually you probably would. Hey, Thomas, I've got somebody buying in Plantation Lakes. Can you send me documents? Absolutely, we'll do it.
So helpful. It's really, because it has become such a critical part of their happiness in living in a community is based on how the HOA functions. From the standpoint of, like you were talking about, you work with the clients, you work with the agents, you work with the HOA, you know, there's so many different pieces and parts. How do you keep the sensitive information private?
Constant effort.
Yeah.
So we've partnered with a couple groups. We used Qualia for our closing solution.
Okay.
They are encrypted. They are secure. They are login, two-factor authentication, which is now kind of a big deal in the security realm. So clients have access to a secure portal for all their documents and communications with us. That portal also allows them, if they want, to communicate with their lenders, with the pest inspection company. We can all communicate through the Qualia portal. So that's one way. We also use Certified for our wiring instructions, seller fraud inquiries, things like that. So I feel like we're ahead of the game in terms of kind of these security solutions, but it's a constant effort because with each individual closing, we have folks that may not have bought a property in 20 years.
Right.
And they go, I didn't wire last time. I took a certified check. And we go, well, that's not really a thing anymore because I can't verify a certified check like I used to. Your bank probably won't confirm it's good money. So I need you to wire it. I need to make sure you don't get bad wiring instructions.
Exactly. And that's probably a whole nother episode right there, talking about how careful you need to be about wiring funds and the potential for wire fraud. Does a buyer have to be in person at closing?
In South Carolina, they do not. It's probably helpful to set the stage. So we were talking earlier about what we do. So we call ourselves closing attorneys. Other states may call it settlement agent or a title company.
Okay.
In South Carolina, we're kind of all in one. So the attorneys are the settlement agents. We also act as title agents, working with the title companies and searching title. And
now you do that in your office, right? The title?
Correct. We do all of that. And I'm sorry, Celia, I forgot your question.
I love it. It was just, okay. So when you have a closing, does the buyer have to be there in person?
Thank you. So so as settlement agent, we're trying to coordinate with all the parties. And one of the options we have for coordinating with you is their e-sign. So if it's a cash purchase, we can do e-sign.
Oh, okay.
So we can send all the documents through our secure portal. You can e-sign everything. If there's a document like a mortgage where you have funds coming in from a lender, then we have to get wet signatures. So South Carolina is still a wet signature state. And what that means is documents that are recorded at the courthouse, we have to have the original. No e-signing.
Gotcha.
Tough on folks for coordinating notaries and things like that. Great for fraud prevention because guess what fraudsters want? They want ease of use. So this is a little bit of a throwback for some states. We're one of the few states that still requires wet signatures. So if there's a mortgage involved or if you're the seller signing a deed, we have to get a wet signature. So we can FedEx documents to you. Of course, you can come in for closing, one of our 2 offices. And if we FedEx documents to you, we use remote notary services.
I love that service.
The notary, and if needed, a witness can go to your house or coordinate with you. They pick up all the documents, they drop it in FedEx.
Exactly.
And so it helps with fraud prevention and it helps with folks that just don't do this every day.
Right.
We kind of try to end to end make it a little bit easier for you.
We have definitely have used that service with clients, and it was a huge help. So I'm so glad that you offer that. Does the seller have to use the same attorney as the buyer?
No, that's a great question. They do not. And in most cases in this area, they do not. In other parts of South Carolina, it seems to be kind of a coastal phenomenon. Other parts of the state, I've got a lot of buddies who are doing doing closings, and they represent buyer and seller at the same time. I understand there's sometimes reasons why we talked about earlier with new development. Maybe you want to have your own person, but in most cases, we find that both parties could be represented by the same company, and oftentimes it's a whole lot easier. Simpler, smoother communication. There's just one less party we have to worry about for fraud or not doing what they should have done. So buyer and seller can be represented by the same party. We just don't see it as much as other parts of the state, but that's changing. We're starting to see more
Right.
dual representation.
And I think the other step to that is a lot of people, when I purchased property in North Carolina, buyer and seller were at the table at the same time signing documents. And is that the case here?
I don't remember the last time I've had a closing with buyer and seller at the same table,
Right.
unless it was mama selling a couple acres to their son, and then maybe she comes in to sign the deed.
So
but
it is
yeah.
definitely separate.
Yeah, and even if we represent both sides,
Coming in at different times?
Different times.
Okay.
And in this market, sometimes, as y'all know, it's a little bit testier market. People are a little bit more demanding. A little bit. There's a lot more going on, and so sometimes it's just easier to have people come at separate times, or have somebody who's a mail away and the other person comes in. So even if we represent both sides, we don't really push one or the other. We just find what's convenient for the client. And if it all works out that we're at the same table and we feel like everybody gets along decently, then sure, we can still we can have everybody sit at the table. We'd love to do that.
Now, I want to go back to wiring because I can tell you that is something that seems to generate a lot of angst and nervousness for my clients because it's not something they do every day, right? And so they very much are when can we wire the funds and how much exactly is it? And that's kind of hard to accommodate that in the week before closing. So how do you handle that?
So we try to address it a couple different ways. One, through the Qualia portal, secure portal, we upload our wiring instructions early. So you have a chance to see those. We let you know in advance. Talk to your bank early. Find out what their requirements are. What can I do that online? Do I have to go in person? Do they need a day or two? So we try to educate folks on giving yourself a little bit of time in that. Our goal internally is to get settlement statements out to folks a week before closing. We miss that mark on way too many occasions, but as we talked about, there's so many different pieces of information and parties that we're dealing with. We can't control when we get HOA dues. We can't control when the lender sends us the package.
Right.
We can ask, and if we have everything, then we'll get you your settlement statement a week before closing. If not, then we give you an estimate, and then we'll coordinate with you before closing and go, okay, we think you need to bring $131,000, but we haven't heard from the HOA. What if you wired us $132,000? And that extra $1,000 will be there for HOA dues for January. If there's anything overage, we give it back to you at closing. We cut you a check at closing.
And I think that's the part that gives them the peace of mind because I do the same recommendation of, it's the scenario of, hey, we are starting our drive down from wherever to Myrtle Beach. And so we need to do this wiring now. And so we get the recommendation. And I always tell them, depending upon the price point would determine how much I would tell them maybe to add to that amount. But the part in which I can easily say, and literally at the table, if there's anything extra, you will be handed a check right then and there. And it seems to make them go, good. It's not like I'm chasing down the extra money I wanted to use on furniture or something.
Right. And if we're short, if somebody's short $500, our policy is we'll take a check for $500. If it's over that, then we need to look at the circumstances. How much are we talking about? How difficult has this been? Kind of how do we read the situation? Or folks can run to the bank, get a check, go to the ATM, get cash. And then another solution not many folks know about is if you're a member of a federal credit union up in Allegheny, Pennsylvania, and you're coming down for closing, you can actually go into a local federal credit union and get your wire done from Myrtle Beach. So you don't have to. If you've missed that, then there's an option for folks. And certainly there's an option for folks that bank with the national lenders like Bank of America, Truist. You can usually go into a branch and find somebody to work with you. So there are options. The biggest thing we find is just talk to us about it. Sometimes we don't know when folks are coming down. We think, okay, Friday it'll be fine to get your information because your closing is next Wednesday. Well, you actually got on the road Thursday night and you're stopping in Richmond and then coming on. And by the time we get the figures to you, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. So if we're communicating with our clients and the clients are communicating with us, then hopefully we can kind of iron out some of those. And
Right.
You mentioned it earlier. I just find that if we're communicating, a lot of those concerns, a lot of concerns about wire fraud, a lot of concerns about getting you the money, those go away when we know what you're doing and you know what we're doing. So your clients will see a whole bunch of stuff from us at the very beginning.
Yes.
We just, it's a deluge of requests of, are you traveling? Do you have a loan? Are you divorced? Like, do you have a former name that you used to use? Like things that you might not think are helpful, but we're trying to get communication. We have workflows that we start as soon as the contract hits. We're working on your file. And the more information we can get from you, the more of these things we can get ironed out, which I find kind of eases folks' minds a whole lot when we're working in advance.
Right.
The Myrtle Beach Art Museum has another great event on tap on January 31st. Head to the downtown Myrtle Beach for the Art Museum's 3rd annual Oyster and Art Festival at Nance Plaza. This benefit for the Art Museum is a great place to get a bucket of oysters, listen to live music, and let your eyes take in some of the Strand's most versatile talent in the world of visual arts. Good food, good music, good art, good company. Visit the website under the event tab for more information.
I'm going to talk about title for a little bit now,
Okay.
because that's one of those things that's happening behind the scenes. Nobody really knows about it, and they don't realize just how important it is. So from that, what are you looking for in a title search?
When you say title, I get a little sentimental because I've been doing it long enough to where I remember my job was primarily title. And now that's almost kind of a forgotten thing. People are just like, well, we've got lenders, we've got this and HOAs. And so we're, settlement agents more than we're title agents. But title searches, so we're looking at least 40 years of title work to make sure, number one, the seller actually owns the property. Most times it's fine. There's no issues. The second one is, are there liens on this property? And I would say there's a subcategory of that. Not just are there liens, but are there potential liens? So our goal is to make sure when you buy the property, Celia, that you don't have to worry about the IRS calling you going, hey, we have a lien against the seller or former owner of this property. And I know they don't own it anymore, but our lien attached to your property. So in fact, we have one today. We found a lien for $111,000. And by the time we called the IRS, they said, oh, by the way, that amount we're owed is $180,000, which ironically was about what the sales price was on a house with no mortgage. So we're working with the IRS to make sure they get enough money to discharge that lien.
Right.
So our buyer doesn't have the IRS calling going, yeah, I know you didn't owe us the money,
But we're coming for it anyway.
but we're coming for your property. Nobody's happy when that happens, especially not us. So we work really hard to make sure there are no liens or potential liens. So we rule that out. And so we stand behind our work. We give every client our errors and omissions coverage, $1 million per transaction, which covers pretty much 99% of the liens that might pop up.
Okay.
Unless you're buying that $5 million waterfront property, then we have to look into something else. And then we have title insurance. And I don't know if we want to get into...
Yeah, I wanted to know the difference between that with the search and the insurance.
Yeah. So they're very related. Title search is the attorney is on the hook, or in other states, a settlement agent or title company is on the hook for the search, what liens we found. Title insurance is a one-time premium that you pay based on the purchase price. South Carolina's a regulated state, so we have several companies, we go to them. Basically, the rates are always the same and are virtually the same. And so it's kind of just finding a company that'll insure for the life of ownership. And your investment in this property, i.e. your purchase price, is covered in the event there's a title claim that arises out of something I could not find. So it doesn't happen very often, but if Horry County misindexed a lien, a judgment, they misspelled Celia, they spelled it with an S instead of a C.
How dare they?
I know. This is Horry County. We're still we're still working on the reading and writing thing. I shouldn't say that, but my mom's an educator, so she's not going to be happy with me if she watches this. But in any event, misindexing still happens occasionally, and so if that lien against you is misindexed, I buy your property, it's a lien against my property, whether our firm found it or not. Title insurance steps in and says, we've got you covered. The life of ownership, if something comes up, your title's good. Or if there was fraud, there was a fraudulent seller 2 owners back, and so the current owner doesn't have good title, title insurance says, we got you there.
Yeah.
Nothing I can do to protect you from 2 owners ago, nothing I can do when the county messes up. Title insurance, I would not buy a piece of real estate without it. I get it. We're title agents. We make a commission off the title insurance. But whether it's here or any other state, I would not buy a piece of property without title insurance.
And so to clarify, title insurance is technically optional, but in the transactions that your office does, what would you say is the percentage for a residential transaction that go ahead and take advantage of title insurance?
So a lot of our closings have loans, and lenders will require title insurance. And so in that case, the add-on for the owners is very small. So in that, I would say probably 99% of the people
Good.
get owners.
Good.
If it's a cash purchase, maybe it drops to 90%.
Okay.
But at least with our office, we try to do a good job of just going, hey, if I kick off, if I'm not here tomorrow, if my firm shuts down, if I lied to you about my errors and omissions coverage, you've got a policy where that title insurance company is going to stand behind everything related to title, not just what I do, but the stuff that I couldn't protect my clients from. So if I'm not here, that title insurance policy it's kind of like dealing with State Farm versus talking to the agent for State Farm. State Farm is not going anywhere. And that's how title insurance works.
So have you, you got a wild title story that you can recall?
With kind of what we do now with so many transactions, fortunately, most of them go pretty well. But one we had recently, we had a trust involved. Husband and wife are on the trust. The husband transferred the property to the trust. He and wife were the initial grantors and the trustees. Husband, as it turns out, had some problems in the upstate with his business, which is doing business as. It wasn't incorporated. So the liens were against his business, but they were also against him individually.
Yes.
He had not thought about that, transferred it to the trust. When it came to us, the wife said, hey, I'm the only trustee. And we said, well, no, there's a document you filed of record that says he is too. We searched his name. And oh, by the way, we found a couple $100,000 worth of judgments and pending actions. And so technically those judgments happened after he transferred the property to his wife. But in South Carolina, we have something called fraudulent conveyances.
Okay.
So if you're moving property around to avoid a debt, our courts they kind of side with the creditors on that one. So in that one, we had to put a hold on it days before closing. We thought we were going to get it worked out. And then all of a sudden, our husband and wife just disappeared and we never heard from them again.
Really?
So closing didn't happen, but I hated it for our clients. But at the same time, we felt like we'd done our job, that we had rooted out something that most title searches wouldn't have uncovered just by kind of watching for those extra little details. And I think we saved them. There's no doubt in my mind, the creditors would have been coming after them. They knew they owned property in Horry County, and there would have been a lawsuit for fraudulent conveyance. And our folks would have probably lost the property and then hopefully gotten their money back through title insurance.
And in any way, is the law firm, if that had happened and you had not caught it, is there some liability involved that, hey, that was your job, you were supposed to find that type of a situation?
Yeah, I guess there is, but the question is, did we do a diligent search? Did we use reasonable standard of care and trying to find that? In that case, I think if we had not found that lien, a court wouldn't have found us liable because, in essence, we went over and above and just kind of looked for things maybe other folks wouldn't have looked for. In those type situations, that's where title insurance comes in handy.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of, well, what happened? Title insurance is more like, oh, wait, how much do you owe or how much did you lose? So that's another reason why we encourage folks. Just it's probably the biggest investment of your life.
Right.
Spend a few extra $100, get the title insurance for you, for your peace of mind for the next 20 years.
Switching gears a little bit, now I want to talk, to our listeners, viewers who are thinking to move into our area, and this might be the first time they make a purchase of a property in South Carolina. Anything that they should know before closing in this state that you think is, important or unique to our state?
Yeah, we mentioned the fact that it's an attorney state, so you may have two different parties. It may be kind of a little bit off-putting for people. We're not used to. Well, wait, you're not handling the seller. How come you're not in control? We mentioned the wet signatures. Another thing is we have our statutes require us to record before we disperse, generally speaking. So if there's a lien filed seconds before I file the deed to your property, that lien takes priority and is a lien against your property.
Yes.
We kind of have a modified, I think most places in South Carolina now do table funding. And that means once I get the deed for the property, once I have the mortgage and your funds and lender approval, I can disperse the file. It is recorded because we upload it electronically and we'll hear from the county when we hear from the county. But we know your deed is of record. We just don't know if there's some other lien in the queue for electronic recording. So we do table funding, which allows us to get rid of those title concerns last minute liens and allows you to get in the property sooner.
Yes.
But that said, there's still a wait. It's not, well, I signed this morning and I wired you my funds. No, I'm still waiting on a deed from the seller. I have to have that original, or I need your lender's approval. So that, and I guess kind of along with that are keys. I don't know what other states do, but I know in this area, very few attorneys have keys for the property. So we may tell you, hey, we're good, you're recorded, you legally own the property and have a right to take possession, but I don't have the keys. It's normally coordinate with their real estate agent. And I think a lot of people don't understand. We still get a lot of folks that come in, sign everything and go, hey, where are my keys? And I go, I don't know. I would say call Celia, but Celia wouldn't do that. There's some other agent that maybe we need to call X agent who will be unnamed.
I love table funding because, again, we have so many people moving here from out of state, and they could literally, as I know you know, be parked in your parking lot with a moving truck, and they are like, let's go. I got a delivery of a refrigerator, and so I got to go. And so that table funding really does help them feel like, okay, we can actually, make progress today in moving versus oh my gosh, is this real? So it really is helpful.
Can I just tag on to that?
Yeah.
So if you have the movers, if you're signing with us at 9 a.m. in the morning and you have the movers coming at 11, will you please let us know? And that way we can kind of try to massage things to get everything done or give you a heads up. But that's always disappointing when the U-Haul's parked in our parking lot and folks go, but why can't I get the keys? And I go, well, because I don't have the seller's deed. It was coming from Allegheny, Pennsylvania in FedEx, and FedEx hadn't arrived. It's
these little tips where, say somebody is selling their current property and they have it backed up to the purchase of the new one down here. I have to beg them to pad that for a few days for a multitude of reasons, not just the moving logistics, but the money logistics. Because if you were hoping that funds from that sale can quickly get to the purchase of this one, well, it takes a hot minute. Now, granted, most times the attorney's offices on both transactions will work together so that it's not attorney to seller, seller's bank to the new, and I know I'm making head spin when I talk like that, but it's just the little logistics that really can make a difference. And, final points here, when we are talking about, this can be, a closing can take anywhere from, we'll say, 3 weeks to 45 days, depending on the different scenarios. And during that time, you get to know people, right? I mean, you're really establishing, a relationship, so to speak. And it's, like you said, it's significant. So have there been any, closings or transactions that it just, when it ended successfully, it just warmed your heart, or maybe at the closing table, just something where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting choked up, I mean, I'm sure there have been some special ones.
All right. So something you ought to know about me.
Okay.
I typically only cry over sports movies.
Like The Natural?
That's a great one. Or dog movies.
Okay.
And so if you have like Air Bud with a dog playing sports, I'm a puddle. But in terms of meaningful, we're so focused on, I grew up in retail, 5 and dime stores.
Okay.
So some of your crowd might be old enough to know what 5 and dime stores. That was our family business. And we were always focused on providing good customer service, fair price, and get you out the door. Knowing we're fungible, you can go a whole bunch of different places to get the same product. So when that happens, I kind of get in this mode of what do we got to do to get it done? And I've asked our folks, I'm like, give me a great example of something happened recently. And their response to a person was, that's like every day around here. There's somebody needs us to stay late, or there's a lender package coming in 30 minutes before folks are supposed to sign, or we're working with y'all because somebody's balking at the last minute, trying to get things worked out. So our folks, if we've got to courier documents somewhere, if we've got to stay a few minutes late, if we've got to work late on the weekends, we try not to do it. We try to keep a healthy work-life balance. But we've got a lot of stories like that where we feel like we've kind of made things work. The ones that stand out to me personally the most are when we have somebody you've referred to us, and then they go, or you usually call us and say, hey, Jennifer's mom is now coming down here and she's buying, and you remember Jennifer closed with y'all. And I go, okay, we did a good enough job that you're willing to recommend us again. And I love the fact that apparently things are decent enough down here that you're bringing your parents or you're bringing your kids, and there's a lot of that going on. So those are probably the closings I enjoy the most, especially if they bring their dog. So yes, we
right. I think that's a great way to end on this, is that yes, you do allow the doggies in.
Oh yes. Yeah. Now cats, we may have to talk a little bit, and other kind of non-domesticated animals, maybe not, but dogs are always welcome at Dunes Law Firm.
I love that. This has been so helpful. I mean, could we go on and on? I mean, there's, so many different episodes. 1031 exchange, the explaining each real estate document, because in each state they're different, the Vacation Rental Act, establishing a trust. And I just, conversations like this remind us of the significance and the importance of a real estate transaction. It's not like shopping for groceries. I mean, so who you have as your part of your overall team to get you from house shopping to keys in your hand, I think are some of the most important decisions you can make in the overall process. So
Great.
I tell my clients, once they sign that engagement letter with the attorney's office, use them up. If you've got questions, and that is what they're there for. And I just really thank you so much for, there are so many ways that can stress out a buyer or seller for that matter. And to know that they have a trusted resource is just, I think, one of those things that lets people exhale along the way. So again, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much. I
it.
appreciate the opportunity.
So we have just, can you believe it? Is it even possible? Episode 4 done. Another episode of Coasting is now complete. We can be found in all the same places that you're going to listen to those other podcasts: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And if the episode generates a question for you, or you have an idea of another topic you'd like us to cover, be sure to add a comment, maybe in YouTube where you saw that, or send it to coastingpodcastsc@gmail.com. While Coasting Podcast is hopefully helping you find your people, place, and pace, we'd be forever grateful if you'd help us by sharing the episodes with others and making them aware of this great resource. And hey, if you have any questions about real estate in our area, I would love to help. My phone number is shown following the actual credits for the episode. So thanks again for listening, and as always, keep it coasting. Thank you. Tragedy.
Termites had eaten almost all the way through the floor structure, and that floor was going to come down at any time.
Oh, you're not supposed to answer that
Yep.
way,
Yep.
Scott.
Yep.
Jeez.
We tie a ski rope to our golf cart, and we get a sled, and we drag our kids up and down the street until the police stop us.
Some people think it is X-ray vision. It is not.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
And then a crane grabs it and starts putting it together like Legos.
If you're lucky, a crane.
The executive producer of Coasting Podcast is Celia Klein. Producer is Michael Lehman from Framewave Visuals. The opinions expressed herein are solely those of Celia, Aunt B, and any special guests. Good news, agree or disagree. You have that liberty. Special thanks to Thomas Stanley, Pat Goodwin, and the City of Charlotte for hosting this year's Mustang Week. And let's not forget, special consideration, the Macy. Celia is a licensed realtor in both South and North Carolina. For assistance in either buying or selling your real estate, please call 843-321-9646. The Coasting Podcast can be found wherever you currently enjoy your favorite podcasts. We thank you for listening.